Space, the final frontier. Join us for a bold conversation. Our prime directive? To recap our favorite Star Trek shows, both new and old. To engage in debate about all things Trek. Prepare to energize with phasers set to stun.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Phasers Set to Stun, where we continue to show our love for everything Star Trek in this continuing series from a Film by podcast focusing on everything in the ever-expanding universe of Star Trek, covering television, movies, animation, directors, merchandise, and much more. Joining me on the Battle Bridge of the Enterprise, because they're currently vacuuming the carpet on the main bridge, is our core Trek crew. I'm your host, Wayne Whited.
I'm David Burns.
And I'm Scott Hoffman.
And I want to start off this podcast with a huge congratulations to the winners of this year's Saturn Awards. Star Trek won some big ones this year. They took home the Best Science Fiction Series for Star Trek Picard Season 3, as well as some well-deserved acting awards. Best Actor went to Patrick Stewart, Best Supporting Actor to Jonathan Frakes, Best Supporting Actress to Jerry Ryan, all for their magnificent work on Picard Season 3. Plus, we can't forget Paul Wesley took home Best Guest Star for his portrayal of James T. Kirk in Strange New Worlds. So congratulations to all of them.
Yeah, well earned.
Absolutely.
All right, going back to our program. In this episode, we continue our discussion on what we like to call starter treks, a chosen list for first-time viewers. This spoiler-free list focuses on the top 10 episodes from each season for people diving into the next generation for the first time, showing them a great place to start and what to steer clear of. With starter treks, we simplify the menu with choices that give our new listeners a taste for each season. After listening to this episode, you can find the course we plotted for you at the convenient list located in the description below. But before we begin, let's listen to what a Film by contributor Amber Lewis has to say about some of the episodes we chose for Season 2.
Hey guys, I adored Next Generation and never missed it back in the day. I am loving this series you're doing because it makes it easier to do a rewatch since you don't have to slog through all 22 plus episodes a season. You made great points for including the episodes on the list, and there's a lot to love in Season 2, including Guinan, the holodeck, and the introduction of the Borg. But on the flip side, my absolute hatred of both Dr. Pulaski and the episode Up the Long Ladder cannot be overstated. I would personally add the episode Manhunt to the list of episodes to watch because I absolutely love Troy's mom. She is hysterical, and I love how uncomfortable she makes Troy, who is usually so composed. So keep up the great work, and I can't wait for Season 3 and one of the best season finales ever.
Thanks for that, Amber, and to all our listeners. If you'd like to comment or add what you think are the top 10, please do so because we'd love to hear from you. David, what are we discussing today?
Well, we are going to be discussing Season 3 of Star Trek The Next Generation,
Yes, we are.
which is going to get the ball rolling. The episodes and the seasons are getting better.
Oh, yes, they are, definitely. Definitely. There's been a lot of changes between Season 2 and 3. The big one being Gene Roddenberry stepped back and Rick Berman took over as showrunner and the executive producer. And that's he brought about a lot of much needed and much wanted changes to the show. First, and the big one, he rehired Gates McFadden back to play Dr. Beverly Crusher.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
I know.
Yeah.
What a great change.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you look back, it's hard to believe that she wasn't there for a season, but yeah, she was missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big new opening title sequence, too. We get.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new title sequence.
Yep.
Brand new costumes. They hired a new costume designer, Robert Blackman. He redesigned all of them for the main cast and the guest stars.
Yeah.
And And another big thing is they got rid of something that I really wasn't aware of, but for the first 2 years, Roddenberry had a rule that forbid them from acknowledging anything about the original Star Trek series. This rule was gone, as we'll see later on in the season.
Yep. Thank goodness, man.
Yeah, that would make no sense to me. Like,
No.
why not dismiss the... Anyway.
This is Star Trek. Wait a minute. What?
Right.
Yeah, I can understand them wanting to establish themselves, but it's the third year now. It's time to get rid of that and start showing the continuity of the series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing is this season saw Michael Piller join the writing staff for the show. He was responsible for really honing the style and type of scripts that were brought in. This is a big change that we saw as viewers back then. He demanded the stories revolved around the characters rather than just the events of the Enterprise. Brought in a lot of other great writers like Ronald Moore. And then another thing that I remember is he instituted that open submission policy where anyone out there, even if you didn't have an agent, could submit a script directly to them. You didn't have to have experience. They would take a look at everything. And they got a lot of good writers and a lot of good scripts through that.
But to go back to what you said about the uniforms, just the uniforms in themselves, what a leap in production value that provides. That two-piece they have now, it just looks so much better on screen than that one piece they were using.
Yeah, it looks really, really comfy too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the actors were really happy about that.
Yep.
Did anybody notice that at the beginning of this season, when they did bring the new uniforms, those aren't the actual uniforms that we're familiar with. Somewhere they the last 4 or 5 episodes in, they changed them again. They still kind of look the same, but I always wondered. I never found out the answer as to what happened there. What was the difference between it? There must have been some reason for them to change those.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, you're right.
Maybe merchandising, so they could sell more uniform variations.
Or the actors were complaining about being comfortable or not. Who knows? Could be.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. All right, we're going to dive right into the episodes we've chosen. We're going to be talking about them in the order in which they were originally broadcast back in 1989, 1990. So to begin, let's move right to our first pick, and I have the honor of starting us off with the season premiere, which is Evolution. Written by Michael Piller and Michael Wagner and directed by Winrich Kolbe. The Enterprise has been sent to the Cavus Alpha binary star system to witness a rare stellar explosion and assist in the experiments of Dr. Paul Stubbs. However, just before the explosion starts, the Enterprise begins to malfunction in odd ways that put both the experiments and the entire crew in great jeopardy. Of course, we just got done mentioning lots of changes here, which is why this episode really needs to start in your viewing for the season, because there's so much going on. You got the reintroduction of Dr. Crusher, you got the uniforms, you got Worf's been promoted to full lieutenant, LaForge has been promoted to lieutenant commander. Yep. The new opening title sequence you mentioned, David. We've got the slight alteration to the theme song. There's just so many changes. It would be rather jarring to just kind of skip this and go into the rest of the season. So that's what makes this episode very important. And in my opinion, it's a good episode.
Yeah, this is vital. Some people may disagree with us on some of our picks, but this one is for a person who's just joining Star Trek. If we skipped over this, we'd be like, what's going on? Dr. Crusher's back, and everything's changing. So I completely agree with you on that, Wayne. Yeah. One of the things, this goes back to what you were talking about earlier on how Roddenberry didn't allow anything talking about the original Star Trek and stuff like that. Data in this episode mentions about a system-wide technological failure hadn't happened in 79 years.
Yep,
and he's talking about Star Trek V.
Yep, yeah, right. Which had just came out just before this season aired. So it was fresh in everybody's mind.
Yep.
This one wasn't one of my picks I understand the importance, but the character of Paul Stubbs, specifically Dr. Stubbs, is so abrasive and so condescending, especially to Wesley. There's just a little bit of Pulaski left, I think, in Stubbs. And just know that, his character doesn't always rub everybody the right way. But there are so many milestones, and kind of getting into season 3 and establishing a lot of important characters in that, I think, is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another thing that I found interesting. I don't know if you guys noticed it or not. Did you know Scott Grimes is in this?
Yeah, uncredited. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
He plays one of Wesley's friends at the very end, and if you're not paying attention to it, you're going to miss him. So I find that very interesting. Our good old days of Critters, Scott, when we talk about him in the 1986
series.
Yeah, that's right. Boy, he's come a long way.
Yep.
Power of the night.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to put a mention now to the episode's main guest star, Ken Jenkins, who played Dr. Stubbs. He was in so much stuff back in the 80s and the 90s, so many shows. X-Files, Babylon 5. He was one of the cast members of Scrubs. But, we're Ohio boys. He was born right here in Dayton, Ohio.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So, nice little shout out to us local. But I think he did a good job. You're right. His character was abrasive, but I liked him. I liked his the way he relaxed by going over baseball games in his mind. I thought that was a really unique idea.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, he's obsessed with his project that he's been working on for a very long time. So it makes sense that he's like that, even though I didn't like it, because you're right, Scott. It takes us back to the Pulaski days, and it really just grates on you. Yeah. But if you look at it through his eyes, I guess it makes sense for the character to be like that.
It does, and I think Ken Jakes does a great job of portraying that character in that way, and I do think it does. The title of the episode, Evolution, being a step toward okay, can we respect Wesley now and make him part of the crew and
Come on.
not have this little kid kind of portrayal of him.
Yeah. And the title of the episode is rather fitting because this was the evolution of the show. The show has evolved past its first 2 seasons, and now we're moving into the more familiar Star Trek that lasted till today.
Yeah, and this season shows it. I mean, for you listeners, this was tough for us to pick our top 10. Some of them obviously were guaranteed to be in the top 10. But there were some other ones that I know were good that we didn't add. It was tough. It really was because the seasons are just getting better.
All right, let's go on with our second pick, and this is brought to you by David.
Yes, so this is the episode called The Survivors. The Enterprise travels to Rana 4, where only 2 people have survived of what was once a population of 11,000. It seems that something tragic has occurred on this planet, and it is up to the crew of the Enterprise to discover what it is and what has happened. The away team beams down to discover the 2 survivors, who are husband and wife Kevin and Rashawn Uxbridge. Counselor Troy begins suffering from a melody that continues to play within her mind, and Picard suspects the 2 survivors are holding a secret that must be uncovered. Gentlemen, I love this episode, and if you know the history of one of the actors in this episode and what had occurred to him, and I'm talking about John Anderson, I don't want to give away too much, but what happened to him, he claims that this was one of the toughest performances he's ever had to do in his entire life. And when you understand the episode and what happened to him, you will understand what he was going through when in his performance in this. And that just adds to this so much more. Anne Haney, who plays Rashawn, I thought she did a wonderful job. In watching this again, I realized, oh my God, she played Bonnie in the Golden Girls. I did not realize that until I watched this again, and then it dawned on me, like, holy crap. Marina Sirtis, incredible performance in this episode. You believe she was suffering, listening to that music over and over and over in her head. And I just thought she did an incredible job in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of emotional weight to this episode, which is something we're going to see a lot more in season 3 and beyond.
Yeah.
Right? I think this definitely shows kind of that tonal shift. And a little bit more of a, there are some thought-provoking aspects to this, kind of in a Twilight Zone kind of nature, that also comes through a lot more in this series, which is great for making things, occasionally there's just a standalone episodic kind of entry, and I think this is one of the best ones.
Yeah, I agree.
It's kind of it looks like a bottle show, but it really isn't. But it's pretty confined, small guest cast. But one thing is, this episode made the cast really happy because they got to go on location and film, and I never realized it, but this was really the first major location shooting that they did since the first season. Nice. There was only one brief location shooting during the second year, and it only had I think Brent Spiner and Patrick Stewart were the only ones on there. So it was nice for them to go out and finally see the sun.
I'm sure. I think one of the call-outs in this episode too is Worf drinking tea.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our third pick, and that goes to you, Scott.
Yep. So this one is called The Enemy. And so in this one, an away mission leaves Geordi stranded and blinded on a desolate planet ravaged by storms. But he soon discovers that he's not alone. A desperate, injured Romulan is also marooned with him. Their only hope for survival is to work together. I don't think it's spoiling too much if I say that there were a lot of beats of this episode that reminded me of Enemy Mine with Dennis Quaid.
That's not spoiling anything.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But absolutely.
So we've got another entry with the Romulans becoming more and more important, learning more and more about them. Mm-hmm. We get the introduction of, I think, one of the great Romulan characters, Commander Tomalak.
Oh, yeah.
And more exploration of Geordi's capabilities, his role beyond engineering. He's stuck on a rock where he can't communicate with anybody, and there's very limited technology, and the way that he navigates through that, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah, it's that whole depending on somebody else that you don't trust, and vice versa. I love those kind of episodes, and we get to see Geordi for the first time like that, struggling with his blindness because he can't use that. I thought that was really, really well done, and I want to call out Commander Tomalak. Wayne, you know where I'm going to go with this.
Yes,
who
I
Andreas,
do. I was hoping you would.
Plays Jakar in Babylon 5.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Who is incredible as Jakar. And does a great job here too in The Next Generation as Tomalak. And he also made an appearance, I believe, in Enterprise as well.
Yep. And he comes back later on in the series. He's one of the few return guest characters from the show.
Yep.
And David and we got to actually meet Andreas back in 2000 down in Atlanta, and he's just as flamboyant and as wonderful in person as he is on the show.
Yeah, he just brings such a performance. I can see why he got casted in all the roles he gets casted in, because he just brings that presence that he's a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those, the face-offs through a view screen on the bridge with Picard comes up a few times, and it's just done brilliantly. Yeah. And I mean, I can't see him without thinking of The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. He was the one-armed man.
Good call.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Fugitive, yes.
Does such a great job.
Yes, he does. This was the first episode that we start on a planet. It's usually with the ship in space that we open up. This is the first time they've done it.
You're right.
Yep.
Which makes sense, I guess.
Right. Not the sunny locale we had in the last one, but,
No, not at all. Another thing I really like about this episode too is we're really getting to see more of Riker and Picard continuing to balance each other.
Yes.
Riker's got that gung ho wanting to go back down to the planet, to save, and Picard's like, whoa, hold on a second here. We got to figure this stuff out. And the same thing with when the Romulans make their appearance. Riker wanted to go right at them, and Picard's like, no, we can't do that. You're still seeing that number one attitude going on with Riker, and not seeing the captain that's inside of him, which Picard still has. But you see those two balancing each other, and I love that between those two.
Oh, this is a great episode, and this shows it's a good example of Michael Pillar's idea to make the stories more character focused, because this really is character focused, especially with LaForge. It gives him so much to do. The original idea for this script actually had LaForge and Troy on the planets. I don't think that would have worked as well, and I see why they rewrote it, but unfortunately that really made Marina Sirtis mad that she was completely written out of the script. She only has one line left. She got very, very upset and actually contemplated leaving the show at the time.
Well, I'm glad she didn't, but it makes sense to the episode. It really does.
Yeah, it does.
The story would not have been the same if she was down there with him. This worked better, in my opinion.
I agree. Absolutely agree. They made a good choice there.
Yeah. Now let's not forget, and we can't give away too much of what's going on in the episode because we're staying away from spoilers for our new listeners. But Worf's objection and his dilemma in this episode, wow, and how they touched on it and how they dealt with it. It just was incredible, man. The scene between him and Picard, and you know what I'm talking about. Just my goodness, just on the edge of your seat kind of stuff, man. Of what was going to go happen and how it did turn out. Just fantastic writing right there.
Yes.
Yeah, and an important note in Worf's progression as a character.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. And my favorite line in the episode: "I never lie when I got sand in my shoes, Commodore."
Yep.
All right. Well, there was our first three. But before we continue on, let's take a short break. And when we come back, we'll dive into the next 3 episodes of Starter Treks. Welcome back, everyone. Let's continue on with our 4th episode on the list. And that is The Defector, written by Ronald D. Moore and directed by Robert Shearer. The Enterprise comes across a Romulan scout vessel under attack by a warbird and are able to rescue its crew, a single Romulan named Sital, who claims to have a secret information about a Romulan base on the planet Nelvana 3 and seeks to defect to the Federation. But the crew are skeptical of his claims and feel that he may be leading them into an unescapable trap. This episode was one of the episodes that was written by Ronald Moore. It brought him into the show and earned him a position on the writing staff. And I definitely earned, because this is a fantastic episode. And he would go on to write so many great episodes of this series and become executive producer of Deep Space Nine. And then he also wrote Star Trek First Contact as well, which probably one of the best Next Generation films they made,
without a doubt.
Right. And then, of course, later on, he would create another fantastic show, the new version of Battlestar Galactica for the Sci-Fi Channel, which that show's phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
It is. James Sloan as Sital, I thought he did an incredible job in this episode.
So good.
Oh, man.
Yes.
So many good scenes with him. And do you believe him? Do you not believe him? Do you trust him? I don't know. And they played that off so well. And he plays it off so well in his performance. And just the things that unfold, man, is wow.
This definitely, to me, felt like a Tom Clancy fans would probably love this episode.
Yep.
Just the nuances and the intrigue and the political balance. There's not a lot of action per se in this one, but the tension is so high, so high. And he does an amazing job of giving the Romulans more depth and breadth. Right? Because you see from a Romulan's perspective, this is what's important to me. These are my feelings about my planet, my species, and what I'm willing to risk for that, and what that means is enormous. James does an amazing job in this episode.
I mean, put yourself in those shoes, Scott. Especially you've got kids, you've got a wife. Think about that. Put yourself in the shoes of that guy and what he had to let go of to be in the position that he's in right then. Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So,
but just if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't he play Odo's father in Deep Space Nine?
Yes. I think you're right. I think yeah. This episode and the episode before really changed the way we looked at Romulans. I mean, before they were always just played out as villains, even through the original series, and now we're seeing other sides of them. They're not just villains; they're a whole race. There's a good and a bad side.
Right.
And fortunately, the show continued doing that. I like the idea, just like the Klingons, and they did that a lot with the Klingons too this series. But there's more to these races than just good guys and bad guys.
Yep. Yeah, and it absolutely has beats that come back in season 1 of Picard.
Oh yes. It sure does.
So it's very important to watch that for no other reason.
Yeah. And this was the first episode of the 90s.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is also the first episode that was a result of the problems that they had with Elementary Dear Data. That holodeck sequence at the beginning, the Henry V was actually supposed to be a Sherlock Holmes sequence, but no, they couldn't do that.
No.
Nope.
We're not going down that again, right?
Moving on, let's hear our 5th pick for season 3. David?
Well, gentlemen, we know what a phenomenal episode this one is, and we knew this was going to be in our top 10 without any doubt. And that is the episode Yesterday's Enterprise.
Definitely.
A temporal rift opens, bringing a starship through it, which turns out to be the Enterprise C 22 years from the past, under the leadership of Captain Rachel Garrett. However, upon arrival of this ship, it instantly changes history and alters the crew and timeline we know, creating a Federation who is now battle-weary as they have been at war with the Klingons for many years. Guinan quickly recognizes that something is wrong and does her best to convince Picard that this ship from that past must be sent back through to fix the timeline. However, doing so would send the crew of the Enterprise C to their certain deaths. Rated by many as one of the best episodes of all Star Trek. And I know there's some things we can't talk about, guys, because I don't want to ruin this for anyone who watches this episode, and you know what I'm talking about. So let's not talk about that portion. But what I love about this episode is when it opens and the events of the present day change and how they do the camera effect, and it changes into with Picard on the bridge still, but it's like everything changes on us. I love how they change the lighting. Do you guys notice that through the whole episode?
A lot changed,
Yeah, but the lighting on how it was darker and more, constrained on the actors and stuff like that. It felt more cinematic, for one thing. But even when certain dialogue scenes were going on, and I don't remember what scene it is, I just remember Picard was a little bit shadowed, and then he stepped up, and you get that effect where the light was comes into his face. And I always remember the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark when Steven Spielberg did that, when Indy moved into the light. It felt like that on the bridge of not on the bridge, but on the ship of the Enterprise, with all those changes, and I thought that was incredible.
And they knew that this was going to be a big episode, and because it aired in February, which was one of the sweeps months back then, so it was a really important episode. And so Paramount threw a little bit more money, and you can see it in there. The changes in the costumes, the sets, the lighting. It looks fantastic, and it's because they needed the ratings, and they got them from this. It's an incredible episode. You cannot talk. I mean, we cannot stress how much we love this episode.
I mean, I think even we were talking about, we were working in season 1 or season 2, we were talking about, we know yesterday's Enterprise is going to be in the top 10. It's a given on how good this is.
Yeah, it gets a lot easier as we go into the seasons, as much as it gets more difficult to pick a top 10, because there are some that just feel like naturals. This is an automatic.
This is one of them.
It is.
Absolutely. And what you mentioned about the lighting is so important, because it not only signals kind of that shift from one event to another, or one timeline to another.
Like bright and cheery too,
Yep, but you also see the fatigue on Picard's face, right?
Yeah.
It has that slightly sinister air, which made me think of, mirror universe kind of things, but it's definitely not mirror universe. It's just a slight shift in what if that is just done so well, so difficult to talk about.
It is
without talking about things you want to talk about. But standout performances. I'll just call out Trisha O'Neill as Captain Rachel Garrett. Yes. I think did a great,
fantastic,
job.
She did.
The use of costuming in this is also so important. And then can't talk about this episode without talking about Lieutenant Richard Castillo, Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore. That DVD that Jeff Johnson can never find on his rack because I lost it. But so many standout performances, and Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan. I think this is such a great episode, especially the end scene. Gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, she has so much more to do in this episode. She's actually vital to the story, which usually it's more than just her giving advice at the bar. She finally has something to do in the episodes, and that's great. It's amazing that this episode became out to be so as good as it is, because this was a mess behind the scenes to make. This was actually 2 scripts that they merged into one, and it was rewritten a dozen times by 6 different writers. We all know that's usually the recipe for disaster, but it didn't happen here. One of the scripts that they merged had them running into the Guardian of Forever from the original series, and had Sarek in it. And he had to go back in time and save Vulcan and become the legendary Sarek, and it changed all of history, and that's where that part comes from. And then the other parts, I can't really get into that other script because that goes into some of the spoilers for this episode. But,
right.
They merged them all together, and it worked. It worked perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go back to Guinan, Whoopi Goldberg's performance is always stellar.
Yes.
But when we always talk about actors and how they can perform with their eyes, they don't have to say anything, and they're able to pull off the emotions that we are able to feel as a a viewer. She does that so well when she goes into 10 forward, and you know what scene I'm talking about, because we can't say it, but you just feel the emotion there of just the glances that she gives, and just incredible performance on her part. And yes, I just want to call her out again, just as you did, Scott, because Whoopi Goldberg just did an incredible job in this episode.
Yeah, so many people put in impossible situations, absolutely impossible decisions that have to be made here. And this has a very important impact through the rest of the series.
It does.
Yes, it does.
And we got to call out too that this did win an Emmy Award for outstanding sound editing for a series. I felt like they should have won a whole lot more awards because it's just done so well.
Oh, and the excitement when this first aired, we all were looking forward to this episode. I remember exactly where I was all those years ago. That day, it was the day of our solo and ensemble contest for the band, and we had to be bussed up to Lima, and there was a huge blizzard that day, and I was so upset that we weren't going to make it back to watch this episode. I went to our band director and I complained and I raised a fuss, and we made it back. We made it back just in time for me to watch the episode, and I took home the blue ribbon that weekend. So it turned out to be a fantastic day.
Win-win.
All right, we have a 6th pick for you, and Scott, let's hear what that is.
This one's called The Offspring. So the mission to seek out new life becomes personal for Data as he welcomes an android daughter into the world. He learns about life as a parent, watching someone grow, and gets a new point of view on the challenges of life as an android. But when Starfleet intervenes, he finds out how much he would do for those he cares about most. Goosebumps.
This goes back to Scott. Let's go back to you having kids, Scott.
How
would you feel to be Data?
So hard to talk about this episode without spoilers.
Yeah.
But there's a stand-up performance by Hallie Todd as Lal, Data's daughter, and by Nicholas Coster as Admiral Haftel. Obviously, they're on different sides. What should happen with Lal's future obviously kind of hangs in the balance. But we haven't seen any other androids since Lore.
Right.
And this brings attention to Data's place in the universe, feeling isolated, feeling alone, thinking about his evolution that we saw in Measure of a Man, right? That absolutely comes back in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
With great effect.
Yeah.
And, the emotional arc, what you see with Data, is absolutely incredible. And, we're not going to spoil anything, but Brent Spiner's performance right up to that absolute final scenes when credits start to roll, it gives me chills. The emotional range that he portrays with an emotionless character, arguably, is phenomenal. This is one of my favorites.
Again, it goes back to what we talked about Whoopi Goldberg a little bit ago. It's that being able to perform without saying a word. It's such a talent, man, that some people have, and Brent Spiner clearly has that.
He does.
You're right. I mean, he's playing someone who doesn't have emotions, but he does. He pulls it off so well. And we also have to mention Jonathan Frakes directed this episode.
Yes.
His first time doing it, and now he directs so much Star Trek, which we love very, very much because he's fantastic at it. Which is why he's barely in this episode, because he was busy behind the camera. But the one scene that he was in was hysterical.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And the way that he composes, there's 3 characters, Geordi, Troy, and Wesley, that start the episode, and they have a very important role toward the end of the episode. And the way that their emotions, they kind of emote for Data. And it's that second scene is just done so well. Like, you see this range of emotions from 3 different people on behalf of Data, who has his own, can't necessarily express those emotions or doesn't necessarily have those emotions, but wow, so impactful.
It's such a great episode, and the second half of this season just was one great episode after the other.
It was.
It's hard to believe that this episode, The Offspring, was not only was it a bottle show. This was their bottle show for the season. They were saving a lot of money on this, and you look and you see it, but it worked. But this was one of the scripts that was submitted through the open submission process. So this was just some writer out there with no agent decided, hey, I have an idea, and sent it in, and this is what we got. And of course, he would go on to write a lot more episodes, but it's so good. Right after yesterday's Enterprise, then we got this fantastic episode.
And there's that one big scene between Admiral Haftel, Picard, and Data when they're all in in the room talking together. Oh my goodness, performance is great by everybody there.
Yes,
man, so good.
Yeah.
All right, the next episode, the 7th on our list, is Sins of the Father. And this is written by Ronald D. Moore and Drew Dahan, and directed by Les Landau. The Enterprise receives a Klingon first officer, a Commander Kern, through the Officer Exchange Program, whose command style aggravates the crew. When Kern is confronted by Worf, he is revealed that Kern is Worf's younger brother, and that on the Klingon homeworld, their father has been charged as a traitor to the Empire by Duras. To clear his family's name, Worf travels to Kronos with Picard at his side to challenge the charges, but soon discover there are darker conspiracies happening behind the scenes of the Klingon Council. Once again, another huge, memorable episode right after the other. This is a big Klingon episode for the season, and one of the most important episodes, not just for the Next Generation, but for just Star Trek lore altogether. This is the first time we see the Klingon homeworld. It hasn't been named yet. It won't be named for another year in Star Trek 6. They just call it the Klingon homeworld here, but its real name is Kronos, by the way. That's the name that they came up with in Star Trek 6. But it's great. It won an Emmy as well this season for Best Art Design. Richard James, his design for the Klingon Great Hall was phenomenal. It's very epic story. And then we've got some incredible guest appearances, some incredible performances. I think the big one that I want to point out is Tony Todd. He's a phenomenal actor. He plays Kern, Worf's brother. He appeared in so many films and television, but he also would go on and play Kern again in Star Trek, both this series and the Deep Space Nine. And he also played a few other characters. And one of my favorite characters that he played was an older Jake Sisko in the episode The Visitor of Deep Space Nine, which is probably one of the strongest episodes of that series. But he's an incredible actor.
Yeah. And Patrick Massett, who played Duras, I thought he did a really good job too.
He's great. And we also got Charles Cooper in this episode too. He plays Kim Peck. We just got done seeing him playing General Cord in Star Trek V, and here he is again, and he's wearing the same outfit that he wore in Star Trek V. That big cloak with all the pins is exactly the same thing.
Well, why not?
It
looks great.
It works, yeah.
No, this is a shining moment for Michael Dorn and a shining moment for Worf.
Yeah.
So many things happen in this episode, you're right, Wayne, that sets up the future of the Klingons, and we're going to revisit. I know an episode we're going to be talking about later on. Not in this season, a later season, that is going to come back to a lot of this stuff, and that Tony Todd is in, obviously.
Yeah.
But man, what a performance by Michael Dorn here. There's just so many things to talk about that we can't talk about, especially on how this episode wraps up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But some moments between him and Picard that were just so well done, and just seeing the struggle that Worf was going through here. Not only finding out that he had a brother, but then the tension that's on the Enterprise between Riker and clearly everybody on the Enterprise with him. And what was going on. It leads to some good moments, obviously funny moments, but some seriousness too. Great performances all around.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's one of Michael Dorn's favorite episodes.
It is. I could see why.
Absolutely. I'm going to double down on Tony Todd as Kern. an amazing performance, an amazing character that he helped to build that becomes so important as we progress through the series. The set on Kronos is epic. I love that set. It is so good, and such a great follow-up to that previous episode where Riker was on the Klingon ship and seeing that from another point of view.
That's right.
Yeah.
The emotional walls that Kern and Worf both have to kind of put up through this entire episode and ongoing. It is this season specifically is a great step forward for Worf's character and for Klingons in general.
It is, and you get that Picard's always the captain, the leader. But here, when they're on the Klingon world, when Picard steps up, to assist Worf, the roles kind of reverse here a little bit, because Worf is the one that really has to, put the foot forward and, say what's going on and what he needs to do and what the outcome of all of it is. Picard's there to counsel him in this stuff. But, it's really Picard taking that backseat a little bit and letting Worf, take over because he has to, but still Picard's there and does some really good things in this episode.
It's really hard, too, because... Patrick Stewart usually dominates the screen every time he's on there, but here he's taken the back seat. Michael Dorn has the front and center and just really performs an incredible job.
Yep.
All right, it's time for another break. Stay tuned, listeners, and we'll return after these important messages. Welcome back, everybody, and we're going to continue with our 8th pick. David, tell us what that is.
It is the episode called The Most Toys. Sounds like my life, but no, I'm kidding. On a routine mission shuttling important material, Data's shuttle explodes, leaving everyone believing he is dead. However, Data awakens to find himself part of a collection by a crazed collector of original, unique, and one-of-a-kind items. The Enterprise moves on, continuing their mission to help a colony, while Data tries to find his way home and escape his captor. This episode, caught me by surprise a little bit. Again, we're getting another great performance by Brent Spiner. Fajo, is that his name? Fajo, played by Saul Rubinek. Such a fantastic job here. You really hate that guy, and you're supposed to, because he wants it his way and only his way. And when you see him try to control Data in this episode, and Data doesn't want to have anything to do with that, really leads to some really fun moments in this episode.
Yeah. This, oh my God. That's so hard to talk about.
I know.
So many important beats for Data. When you think about what I was saying before from the Offspring with his ability to emote for an emotionless character. It is so powerful in this episode because there are so many moral dilemmas in this episode for Data. And his fight for, being seen as a being, not a piece of property, not a possession, right? Really, really highlighted in this episode. You mentioned Saul Rubinek. Such an amazing performance. Oh my God. Talk about characters that are done so well, but you hate them so much.
Yeah.
Done with great effect. Like his use of audible pauses, like when he takes a breath and it's kind of this like emotion change for him. Done just so well. Just such an important part of this character. But I really want to make sure that we mention the original actor that was going to play Kivas Fajo. David Rappaport, in honor of his memory. He's a very important actor in my childhood, specifically Time Bandits, as Randall. Just an amazing actor. And unfortunately, he was going through some struggles in the early filming of this, and I believe he attempted suicide a few days into filming. Unfortunately, he would commit suicide 2 months later. And that's when they had to bring Saul Rubinek in. This is one of those episodes where I really impress on people. This is like an onion of an episode. So watch the episode itself, then look into some of the backstory of this episode, specifically some of the interviews that Brent Spiner has done, talking about the development of this episode and his history with Saul, knowing the connection that they shared before filming this episode, really gives it a whole nother layer to unpack.
And Saul, he did a phenomenal job for someone who had to be brought in right at the last minute and thrown into filming to replace the original actor. The footage with David Rappaport is available to watch. It's on the Blu-ray of the third season. They both put on a fantastic but different performance to the character. It's kind of a nice a look to see what if with such a sad story.
Yeah.
I find it interesting too in this episode when they're going through Data's stuff. It's the same stuff that he had packed when he was leaving in The Measure of a Man.
Yeah.
It's the same items. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And the very final scene is one that, for me, just sticks with me. Like there's a nonverbal exchange of looks between two characters that I won't mention, but it makes you think long after the credits roll. Like. What really happened. But,
Another thing, too, that I also noticed in this episode was the shuttle pod that Data's flying is called the Pike. A little nod to Captain Christopher Pike.
That's right.
Isn't that neat?
I love it when they do that stuff. It just it adds to the show so much more. Love it.
I do, too. Yep. And they're finally able to do it this season as well.
Right.
All right, let's move on to our 9th pick. And I'm a little jealous that you got this one, as it's one of my, if not my favorite from the season. So, Scott, you tell us about it.
Yeah, this one I'm sure we're going to have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
Simply titled Sarek. Directed by Les Landau. Written by Peter S. Beagle and Mark Cushman. In this one, Spock's father, Sarek, is one of the most important Vulcans in Star Trek history. Aside from what we've seen on screen, his diplomatic work has built or reinforced the foundations of the Federation, and his most recent mission on the Enterprise is focused on that same goal. As a preeminent Vulcan, Sarek's ability to control his emotions is an important part of his work. However, as Sarek arrives for this delicate mission, emotions on the Enterprise are escalating and running amok for some mysterious reason. The emotional and historical impact of this episode will be felt throughout the series. So hard to talk about without spoiling things. The emotional performances in this by Patrick Stewart and Mark Leonard, am I saying that right?
That's right.
Correct.
Are just out of the park. Mark Leonard, of course, playing the titular character of Sarek, who is just as legendary as the character he plays on Star Trek. Before he became Sarek, he played a Romulan commander in the original series as Balance of Terror, which we recently saw was an important part of Strange New Worlds. He first appeared as Sarek in Journey to Babel, if I'm not mistaken, and returned in several Star Trek movies. I'm just skimming the surface, Wayne. I think you're going to have a lot more to say, but his contributions to Vulcan culture and the Star Trek franchise are immeasurable, and it's easy to see why from just this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the first episode to directly reference and show the Vulcan culture in the Next Generation. First to show a mind meld.
Yep.
They've avoided the Vulcans like the plague for the first 2 seasons. Now we finally get an episode with them, and I'm glad to see them fully involved in the Next Generation universe. I love this episode. I loved it when it first aired. This is definitely my favorite episode of the 3rd season. There's just so many fantastic scenes. And as you said, like the scenes between Patrick Stewart and Mark Leonard are so powerful, so
they are
emotional. The one that stands out for me the most is the concert. There's a concert scene in the middle of the episode. It's the way it's shot is just so stunning. It's we get this beautiful piece of music playing in the background, and there's no real dialogue. It's just the camera movements, the cuts, and the emotions shown by the actors throughout the shot just tells the stories. It's so beautifully done. Although Data does make a little mistake here. He actually names the piece of music they're playing wrong.
Oh boy.
Hey, even androids aren't perfect.
They're not perfect.
That's right.
So yeah, to speak about the performances again, and we're going to keep drilling on this because Mark Leonard and Patrick Stewart are just at the top of their game.
Yes.
Especially in this episode. But as we all know, Patrick Stewart is a Shakespearean performer. That's how he learned to become an actor. And you clearly see that in this episode. And you know what scene I'm talking about. I can't say it because I don't want to ruin it for our listeners.
Yep.
But just the emotions and stuff that this man has to go through and pull off on screen is just something to behold in this episode. Patrick Stewart's great in everything that he has done. But man, he really shines here. Man, does he shine.
It's such a powerful performance. I know exactly what scene you're talking about. It's huge.
Yeah.
You know, you viewers out there, first-time viewers, you'll know exactly what we're talking about too when you see it. It's Patrick Stewart. He puts on his most powerful performance of the series to date.
Yeah. And note too is Picard mentions that he was at Sarek's son's wedding. And you know who that is?
Oh, that's right.
You know, he talks about that. So I think Picard said it was like 22 years ago, which kind of funny. 22 years comes up again when yesterday's Enterprise was 22 years as well. Interesting, huh?
That's right. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our 10th and final episode of the season of Starter Treks. David, you have the privilege of giving us this one.
Gentlemen, thank you for letting me have this one. And once everybody sees this one, you're going to know what we're talking about here. Resistance is futile. Best of Both Worlds, Part 1. The Enterprise and its crew respond to a distress call from a Federation colony. On arriving, it is discovered the colony is gone, ripped from the very fabric of the planet. Quickly, the Enterprise meets up with another Federation ship, where they are joined by Admiral Hansen and Lieutenant Commander Shelby. It is quickly discovered that the greatest villain and threat to the Federation has arrived, the Borg. Lieutenant Commander Shelby remains on board the Enterprise as she has become sort of an Borg expert, and the ship and crew needs her expertise to survive a possible encounter. It isn't long, however, to when they discover the infamous cubed ship, and the fight for survival begins. Gentlemen, I think you will both agree with me when I say this is the greatest cliffhanger in all of Star Trek.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
When I watched this for the first time, when it aired in 1990, that was the longest summer waiting for the second part. My God. And we're not going to give away spoilers because, man, does this have a cliffhanger at the end that you're going to be like, are you kidding me?
That's exactly what we said.
Yeah, today, for those who have not seen this, good for you that you get to see the second part right away. We couldn't. We had to wait the whole summer, and it was mind-boggling. But, gentlemen, let's talk about Commander Shelby, played by Elizabeth Dennehy, who does such a fantastic job. There is a scene between her and Riker when they're on the turbo lift, that the friction between those two characters, because Shelby wants his job, you know, and Riker doesn't really want to give that up because he loves being the first number one on the Enterprise under Picard. But there's just some things that come up in this episode that, you know, we're questioning for Riker. You know, one of my favorite lines in this episode comes from the Admiral. When he was talking to Picard, and he's talking about Riker, we've given, we've pulled out that captain's chair, but he just doesn't want to sit. You know, I love that line, and it brings up some stuff for Riker that he has to deal with in this episode. But on top of that, he has to deal with Shelby in this episode, who keeps getting in his way. But so much good stuff in this. You know, this was basically a sequel to Q Who. Yeah. And I know this was supposed to be like a 3-parter at one time, and I guess they had to pull back on it.
It kind of still is if you really look at season 4, and we'll get into that next episode. But
yeah, absolutely. But I don't want to talk about all of it, gentlemen. Please join me in the love of this episode, please.
Well, there was a lot of rumors back then. Back then we didn't have the internet, and we didn't have all this behind the scenes information. We had to get it from magazines or word of mouth. But you watch this episode. We heard. There were rumors that maybe Patrick Stewart was going to be written out of the series, and Riker was going to be taking over, and there were rumors that Shelby was going to join the cast and be the new first officer of the show. We didn't know that. I mean, from this episode, it looked like that was what was going to happen. We never knew, and having to wait 3 months. Oh my gosh, I was screaming at the television when the "to be continued" comes up. No, how can you do this to us? it's amazing the feelings we had back then. Looking back, I laugh now, but it was a long summer wait.
Yeah. And Wayne, I think you'll join me too in saying how incredible the music was in this episode.
Oh yeah, Ron Jones. He gave us an incredible score, and they also once again knew this was going to be a big episode. They put everything into it, and they doubled his budget, gave him a twice as big orchestra, a 77-piece orchestra, and it really shows. He's a phenomenal composer. The producers hated him, but he was a phenomenal composer, and it wasn't shortly after that they released it on CD, and I went out and rushed and bought it, so we all did.
Yeah, this is one where, in terms of a cliffhanger, specifically at the time, this is not like, holding on to that cliff with with both hands. It's one finger left on that cliff. It takes you right up to that line, man. And, this is something that we're doing for first-time listeners. And for people who are coming back, and it's kind of, curated picks, showing our love, and people can come back and see it. But if it's your first time, at least try to wait 24 hours before you see that next episode, because there's something that we're kind of missing in having that tension hang on. I haven't really felt that since Infinity War leading into Endgame. Right?
I would agree with that.
Amount of time that it helps a little bit to give it gives that part two more weight.
It does.
And there's something to be said for waiting on that. This is actually one of the times when I started recording episodes on the VCR, because at the time, not only did we not have the satisfaction of being able to see what happens next right immediately, or Wayne, to your point, looking at the internet for theories and facts and whatever, you didn't get to see it again until it was rerun in syndication.
Yeah.
And this is one where you really want to be like, what did I just see?
Yeah.
And watch it a couple of times.
Are you kidding me?
This has so much impact that's felt all the way through to Picard season 3.
Yeah.
It's such a journey for so many characters. One character in particular that I won't mention, but Riker as well. Struggling with that, why am I not going to my own ship? This is an important part in that, and showing what he does in leadership roles, away teams, and all this other kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's so hard to talk about this.
It is,
without getting into the resolution of it. But
we're also giddy. Yeah, we're also giddy about it because we know how good this is and what it did for us when we first saw this, years and years ago. Yeah. But the ramifications of this episode are to come, not just for the opening of season 4, but First Contact, the Star Trek: The Next Generation movie that we talked about is the best Next Generation film.
Yes,
this has a lot of consequences in that film too,
and Emissary as well.
And Emissary, absolutely, yeah. There's so much involvement in it. And I remember when we talked about Q-Who, how all three of us, we agreed on how you just get that atmospheric feeling of something huge is coming. You get that again in this one. I don't know if it's just because it comes with the Borg, and it just how much of an incredible villain they are, and just how almost impossible they are to beat. But it's just, you get that again in this episode. You just feel it, like the hair standing on your, standing up as you're watching this episode, because you know what's coming and what that crew has to deal with. Just incredible episode.
Yeah. And I had mentioned last season with Q-Who that episode felt like a teaser, and it was. That was a teaser for this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we waited for. We wanted these Borg to come back, and we wanted to see a true confrontation. Right here it is.
Yeah. And even Deep Space Nine opens up with what we're going to see in this two-parter.
Yes, which is interesting you mentioned that, because when I watched this episode, before I watched part 2, I stopped and watched at least the first part of DS9.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Seen this, if you're a first-timer, don't do that. But if you have, try it out. Take a taste and see an important event from another side.
Yeah. There is You guys know that I love photography. I love cinema work, and anytime they do incredible camera work in a movie, it just makes me love the episode so much more. The last shot in this episode, and I can't say what it is, but it's that wraparound shot where it slowly moves in on the person and it slowly moves around in front of that person just to build that emotion and tense of what's happening. Man, I love that shot at the end. Freaking loved it.
All right, gentlemen, we've talked about our top 10 episodes of Season 3 on Star Trek The Next Generation. So now let's take a sidestep and chat about some of our favorite character moments. For Season 1, we chose Riker, and Season 2 was Data. And now for Season 3, we're going to talk about what we think is our favorite moments for the Enterprise's Klingon security officer, Worf. Scott, what's your pick?
Prune juice. His first taste of prune juice in yesterday's Enterprise.
That's a good one.
It's a pretty minor thing in the context of how much happens for Worf, but it comes up several times throughout the series. He shares a moment with Guinan where he opens himself up a little bit and tries something from Earth that he calls a warrior's drink. There's so much of Worf kind of exploring what it means to be Klingon, but then there are other aspects to it. There's a moment later when Guinan has a line where she says, no, other Klingons laugh. You don't, but they do. And it's just getting him to kind of open up a little bit. But yeah, prune juice. So fun.
Good one.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
What about you, David?
I tell you, I'm going to give a Hoffman answer.
Yes.
There's two that I just struggle with in this episode. And both episodes we've talked about. One is the enemy, where, and again, I can't say what it is because I don't want to give that away for our listeners who's not seen the episode. But the struggle he had, the scene he had with Picard, where he was talking about, and Picard was telling him, I could make you do this, but I'm not. Or am I? It's your decision. Just the struggle that Worf had there, right then and there. I love that. But the other one is, talking about Worf having to make the decision that he does in Sins of the Father. At the end of that episode, just what he had to do there just blows my mind as a person, as a character, because he could have just blown that whole thing open, and changed everything for the Klingons. But he didn't. He decided to, keep it internal and just, let it go on. And the performance Michael Dorn had there in that scene was just, and again, when Michael Dorn says, that was one of his favorite episodes, I can see why. Because that set Worf up to who he is, and just sent him into that trajectory of where he's going with his character that we're going to see in the rest of the Next Generation, and we're going to see in Deep Space Nine, and on and on and on. It's just it sets up so much from just that scene in itself. So that's why I had to say both of those.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I'm going to go with actually one of the same ones you mentioned, and that's the enemy. That scene is so incredible between Worf and Picard.
Yeah.
It's such a choice that he has to make, and we were reminded that Worf isn't human. He's not bound by the same morals that we are. I know Michael Dorn questioned the decision at first when he first got the script, thinking it would be more honorable to do the other, but he came around, and I think that was right. I love that scene. I think the whole episode's a strong episode for Worf, especially that. So I agree with you, David, on that one.
Yeah.
All right, now is the time we get to talk about our least favorite episode of the season, which this is a hard one.
Yeah.
Now, listeners out there, you may like the episodes we chose, and that's okay. Everyone's allowed to have their favorites and their least favorites. But here are some of our least favorite moments from Season 3. So, Scott, what's your choice for least favorite?
For me, it was
not easy.
That's a good answer.
Not easy. So The Price. There's an episode called The Price, and you've got great performances in there. Matt McCoy, who Seinfeld fans will recognize as Lloyd Braun, gives a great performance. However, I do feel like the episode didn't resonate with me. Seeing how Troy is manipulated emotionally seems like it was almost kind of reductive of her character. even though there are aspects of the episode that come up as important, it just felt like I don't know. It felt like it was giving Troy. It was almost a Troy-centric episode, but the way it was Troy-centric bothered me a lot, and I can't really define why. But
yeah, but you got the erotic oiling sequence.
Oh God!
I think you just nailed it, Wayne. Thanks. I didn't know
There
how to
you go.
crystallize it, but you just did. Dan, what about you?
So it's really hard. I struggle to find, and I don't want to say any of these are terrible episodes because they're really not in this season. The only one that just did not resonate with me is Menage a Troy. The whole kidnapping plot by the Ferengi, and Majel Barrett is awesome as Lwaxana Troy. She is. She really is. So don't let me say this was a terrible episode, because I can't say that, because there's some really good performances in here. And please don't shoot me, Star Trek fans, because I'm not a big fan of the Ferengi. I'm not. I love Quark in Deep Space Nine, and I love what he did with that character, but I'm not a huge Ferengi fan. So that detracted this episode for me as well. But yeah, just not a big fan of that episode at all. It's good, don't get me wrong, and great performances, but nah, it's okay.
Yeah, and we'll definitely see more of that Ferengi evolution and redemption in DS9. So just be patient. We'll get there. But I know. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. Wayne, what about you?
This was a hard one for me, too. There really isn't any clear-cut terrible episodes this season. But
No.
I think I'm going to go with an episode. It's not terrible. It's just kind of boring. That would be the Vengeance Factor. It's an average episode for the series. Nothing really exciting happens in it. It's got some good guest actors. Got Lisa Wilcox. She was in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, or excuse me, 4 and 5.
Yep.
And you get a little bit of romantic scenes for Jonathan Frakes, but the thing is it's just a blot episode stuck right in the middle of all these fantastic episodes. So that's my choice.
Yeah.
As you see, it was a tough decision for all of us. This is a great season. So how can you pick a least favorite episode when they're all pretty decent?
Yep.
All right, listeners, I want to thank everyone for tuning in with us for our top 10 picks of The Next Generation Season 3. And we appreciate everyone listening in and supporting us. David, Scott, thank you so much for joining me on the Battle Bridge.
Our pleasure.
Yep, always a good time.
Of course, our hailing frequency are always open for you to share your thoughts and questions on social. Let us know what you think about our choices and share your thoughts on what you think should have been in our top 10. Who knows? You might be mentioned in a future show. You can email us at afilmbypodcast@gmail.com. Find us online at afilmbypodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you're looking for more exclusive content or swag, you can join our Patreon and find out what exclusive gems are hidden within. We'll see you next time when we bring you more phasers set to stun.